Hi, this is Tim. I'm doing another video blog, this time on one of my uh, favorite topics, which is NASA and the space exploration, the different missions into space, different combinations like that. The reason I like to talk about NASA or follow NASA is because I was raised to believe that rocket scientists are very objective and very educated and very reasoning, rational, linear thinkers who don't do anything that is pertains to superstition or has anything to do with non-scientific views on anything. But what you learn about NASA, once you break down the background of NASA, how they're founded, and all these kinds of things, you find all kinds of interesting things that just destroy your belief in the space agency as NASA as being a credible, honest agency of the United States. Uh, if you know the origins of NASA, you know that Werner von Braun was helped to found NASA. He was the Hitler's rocket scientist in World War II. He was brought over by through Operation Paperclip with a bunch of other Nazis when they were dividing up all the top secret technology that was from the saucer technology that the Nazis were experimenting with all the rocket propulsion systems they were experimenting from the V1 and the V2 bombs, the guided rockets, and also the Me-262 Messerschmitts flying fighters that would have, if they would have been in service a year earlier, would have totally probably dominated had air superiority in Europe, which would have dragged out the war longer. So it's an interesting thing when the United States of America, which is supposedly a democratic republic, but what we know now, as we're watching the destruction of America, is that it's not a democratic republic. It is basically a fascist state run by an inner core of Nazis on the Hegelian right and communists on the Hegelian left. Some call these parties Republicans. Some call these parties, you call these parties Democrats. So you got two basic philosophies coming from the elite in the United States that says that you need to be a dictator needs to be over you and tell you what to do. You're sheeple. You're not responsible enough to handle freedom. So, and they've been doing this for a while, taunting the public as being a dumbed down sheeple group of people. But of course, I don't feel that way because people have been dumbed down by these people. So you can't go making fun of people being dumb and uneducated or unilluminated in their view when they're the ones that are purposely destroying the minds and the souls of Americans with all the garbage coming out of Hollywood and the university systems. So getting back to NASA, a lot of times the two main interest areas for me have to do with deception and messaging. And that has to do with Hollywood movies and messages that come through Hollywood for programming purposes. And it also has to come through the academic arena, universities, and the science fields on how they implant ideas into people of what reality is. So NASA is held out there as this rocket scientist. When we always joke about rocket scientists, we think about NASA. NASA is a closed system that, when you look at it objectively, they have these shuttle missions and these Saturn missions and these Apollo missions. When you start looking at all the naming of the missions and you start looking at the personnel that are in NASA, from the Thule Society Nazis who founded NASA, which if you don't know what they are, they're of course Hitler's and Himmler's occult background party members, the Aryan race people, the superior illuminated ones. So that's where the Bushes come from. That's where, all these people come from. So when you get into the history of NASA and you get into seeing what these guys do, you get to see that almost all these NASA astronauts and stuff have been Freemasons or Mormons. And people don't know the Mormon background. They were founded by the Freemason beliefs through Joseph Smith, who was a Freemason. But basically, you have a secret society. Freemasons are a secret society, and these astronauts who are going up into space have oaths through these secret societies, not to the American public, but to these secret societies members. So it gets to be weird. You get to see. So there's been a weird circumstances going on with NASA recently, and that's why I've been tracking them, because they seem to really escalated their what's going on with the amount of NASA or space news regarding to NASA and space launches. So I was just going to run through some of these interesting correlations. I just basically saw that there's a lot of things happening in the month of October related to space, and so I wanted to look at all the NASA stuff, because I started noticing that the news media doesn't usually cover anything unless they're told to cover it for some reason. And so the news has been, when you watch the news put on scenes and things like that, you take notice. So they've been celebrating all these different space shuttles, and they've been doing these space shuttle tours because they're ending the space shuttle program. They basically said that the space shuttle program has been around 30 years, and that at the conclusion of the Columbia disaster, it was in 2003, it was going to be scrubbed, just saying that space flight was too risky. So here's some interesting things that when you start putting them all together, everything looks weird that NASA does. That's why I'm calling this video the NASA Illuminated Space Rituals. So we're going to start off with the space shuttle program is shutting down. But right before all this stuff started happening, what was interesting is that we had Neil Armstrong, the 82-year-old Neil Armstrong. He was on the Apollo 11 mission. He was the first man on the moon. He was a 33rd degree Mason, and he called himself a deist. So anytime you see somebody says deist, more than likely they're a Mason, because that was with Benjamin Franklin commonly called himself a deist also. So whenever you see these people talking about deism, they're usually Masonic backgrounds. So we had Neil Armstrong pass away in August 25th. The Apollo moon mission was on 7/20/69. Okay. The other significant correlated event that happened just this year with 7/20 was the Aurora shooting, where at the movie theaters. If you look at 7/20/69, just for the fun of it, you can add the 7 and the 2 from the 20 and the 0, and you get 9, and then you have 969. They always like to play around with numbers, so you can flip them any way you want to. You can have 999 or 666, depending on what you want to. So he was a 33rd degree Mason. He had his little Masonic apron is on display at the Masonic Temple in Washington, D.C. So that's starting off this NASA stuff that's going on right now. Then what we have going on next is we have, let's see, the the Space Shuttle Discovery and the Space Shuttle Enterprise have both been moved to their final resting places or their exhibit spots. These were the first two shuttles that were being moved. The Discovery was moved to the Smithsonian Institute. So they piggybacked the Discovery, flying it all over the Capitol, over all the Masonic. There's all kinds of photos you can see with the Washington Monument and the flying over the White House and the Capitol building and all the other monuments before it came to be put into the Smithsonian Institute. That started on 4/17. So that was kind of interesting. I didn't, because it's this whole ritual. What they do with these piggyback shuttles is that they fly them over different areas for some reason. You would just think that it's a inanimate object, but no, the Masons like to fly it. I would love to see the flight pattern for this flight or any of these flights just to see what they look like. But they basically flew it from Masonic object to Masonic object, as doing one of their little rituals. So that was 4/17/2012. So that's the Discovery goes to the Smithsonian. The next one this one was the first one that really caught my eye, was the Enterprise. I was trying to think of why is the Enterprise being flown to New York? Again, New York and Washington. I can understand the Smithsonian for aviation, but I don't understand New York at all when it comes to the Enterprise. The Enterprise, I mean, when you think about the space program, you don't think of anything launching from New York City. So they basically piggybacked the Enterprise and flew it around New York and did their little rituals. And then all of a sudden you see them come up the barge up the I guess it's the Hudson. And they got it on a barge and they're taking it past Staten Island where the Statue of Liberty is. Statue of Liberty, of course, is a whole nother topic, but I'll touch a little bit on that when I get to one of the other things. So they bring the Enterprise into New York. They float it up and they put it on the Intrepid as a floating museum. And they put a interesting little canopy rig over the top of it. It makes it look like a boob. And there's no other way of saying it. It just looks like one. So I guess who knows why. But so that's two of the shuttles that have been ferried around. Now the next one that they do is they do the Endeavour, and the Endeavour I couldn't really figure this one out. The Endeavour is going to Los Angeles. Again, what does Los Angeles have to do with anything to do with the space program? So they put it on display. They cut down these trees. They give numbers, 400 trees. They spend $10 million on moving this shuttle into Los Angeles. Nobody spends $10 million to move an inanimate object somewhere. So the Masons, of course, are up to their fun and games there. They have pictures flying it over their little Masonic landmarks out there. So we come up to the next one, which is the Atlantis. Now the Atlantis is the final one that they're moving. And this comes from the October 17th news, that the Atlantis, and they put on here, the Atlantis flew 33 missions into space. So if you know anything about Masons in 33, 33 is their thing. 1/3 of the angels falling from heaven, 33. This is their little Masonic number. So this is going to go into the Kennedy Space Complex. Now, so they're saying that they're going to it will be moved and completed, I believe, on November 2nd. So this is the last of the space shuttle events. So that's why this is the 18th of October. So I'm just looking at what are they trying to do here? What are they trying to complete? They're obviously doing something related to the space program. They're shutting it down. And why are they doing this? Because it just looks like the Masons are cleaning up their little enterprises, whatever. The other events, okay, I'll just talk quickly on two other shuttles that were destroyed. The Challenger was destroyed in 1986, and the Columbia was destroyed in 2003. The Columbia is related to the Statue of Liberty, and this is how it's related. That the goddess Columbia, they call her the goddess of liberty, and they also call Columbia related to America often in the history. Columbia in the occult world, here we go, is related to doves and sacrifice. So when they want to start a new mission, or they have to sacrifice something. This is the occult world. You'll see it in Harry Potter, where there'll be, You know, if somebody's cutting their hand to put blood on something to open something, you have to have a blood sacrifice to get what you want. This is a lot of what goes on in the occult world with wars and sacrificing innocent people. It doesn't matter which side gets sacrificed, as long as the blood gets sacrificed to get the outcome they want. So the Columbia, which is interesting, and I never put this together, but the Columbia, if you look at the Columbia as a sacrifice, it was sacrificed re-entering the atmosphere. Okay, this is not taking off, this is re-entering. People had reports that Vice President Cheney was out there in Texas right where this thing broke up, right over Texas. So you have the Columbia being the sacrifice for an upcoming event. So the Columbia was destroyed February 1st, 2003, and 7 people were killed on that flight. What happens immediately after that is you have the Iraq invasion of March 20th, 2003. So there's your blood sacrifice. Now, other sacrifices related to this Columbia theme that people have pointed out has been the Columbine, has also been pointed out as a blood sacrifice. I didn't go into details looking for what event that would have blood sacrifice would have qualified for that, but there does seem to be correlations with Columbia's and so the Statue of Liberty is the biggest Columbia, if you want to look at it, and it represents Semiramis. If you know the original cult threesome is Nimrod. Nimrod wanted to build the Tower of Babel. Semiramis was the queen, and Tammuz is the one. If you read Jeremiah 25, you'll see that they'll talk about all these women weeping over Tammuz. And of course, Semiramis is the queen of heaven. That brings us to our next series of space events that have been going on here. So we have this Statue of Liberty being the basically Semiramis, the queen of heaven, the mystery Babylon, basically. That's what she is. The Whore of Babylon, I mean, Semiramis was considered to be a brothel owner, whore, so she's also considered to be the mother of the mystery religions. So here you got Semiramis like the Colossus of Rhodes, sitting there in the opening of our waterfront to the New York Harbor, built on a Babylonian step pyramid. So she's standing on a step pyramid there, and this goddess that is called Columbia or Mithras, or they have different things for this title, but this goddess of liberty, goddess of freedom, Columbia, Semiramis is all the same thing. So she's sitting there, and she basically represents that the mystery Babylon is, ruling over the whole United States, and she also represents a potential sacrifice of the United States for the next big event. So the next big event, of course, is their 9/11 event, which is their Apollyon Abaddon out of the pit. So a lot of people are looking at Columbia or the Statue of Liberty as representing a national sacrifice to bring in this New World Order thing. So, or what I call it, the Fourth Reich, because the New World Order is the Fourth Reich. It's a fascist dictatorship that's going to be set up with the 10 regions and the Antichrist at the top, but it is going to be in the tradition of Hitler, the Aryan evolved race, this new X-Men race. So that's why you got the movies, the X-Men and everything. A lot of people are saying that the X-Men First Class, the movie, again, Hollywood gives a lot of predictor. It came out in June 6th, I think, of 2011. And it basically talks about these elites doing nuclear holocaust on purpose to irradiate humanity so that you can start a mutation of humanity, and those who survive are going to be the mutated ones who survive or whatever. Basically, this is where you get in this whole nuclear holocaust kind of thing. This is where you got some of my idea about that instead of a 9/11 event occurring and just having a takeover by some military outfit in the United States, I do think that they need to elevate the shock value to traumatize the population. I do believe it has to be either several nuclear events in the United States with power plants or different kind, suitcase nukes or whatever the heck they got. They got it planned out. They're going to make it so devastating that everybody's just in a daze and their brains can't think. So I was going to the other space events that we were looking at. We had two other space events. Now these were kind of interesting. These were it's called the SpaceX Dragon Capsule. This was a private industry shot a SpaceX Dragon capsule to resupply the ISS, the International Space Station. If you just play with ISS a little bit, you can kind of get the word ISIS out of it. ISIS, of course, being Queen of Heaven, Semiramis again. So you got a Dragon capsule, so a space egg. So we got a space egg, Dragon egg, whatever, going up to this Queen of Heaven, and the mission commander is a woman, that goes along with the Queen of Heaven. Her name is Sunita Williams, and her phrase that they record that she said when the rocket got there, when the capsule got there, and they grabbed it with the arm was, "Looks like we tamed the dragon." Weird. So this mission was to take place. The shot went up on October 7th. It got to the space station on the 10th, and it is planned to splash down on October 28th. So October 28th, and major part of this payload is going to be 500 vials of blood and urine samples. I don't know how many people they got on board there, but there's going to be a lot of but there's going to be a lot of holes, and there's only a few people. There's going to be a lot of holes in them for that much blood. So that's the Dragon capsule. The other event that was interesting, as far as more Illuminati space rituals, is Felix Baumgardner flew. He did the highest skydive jump in the history. He was in what they called the Red Bull Stratos skydive. This was a capsule that was lifted up on a balloon, like a little space capsule that he just went up into the stratosphere, basically about 26 miles up. It was located in Roswell, New Mexico, so yes, that's UFO Central. And that is on the 33.3 degree north latitude, I believe it is called. So here we go with the Freemasons and their 33s again, or their 1/3. Now he's jumping out with just a pressurized suit. What's interesting about this was scheduled for October 9th, was the original date. It was scrubbed. The actual date it happened was October 14th. So that was 4 days ago. That was the 65th anniversary of Chet Yeager's Bell X-1 flight. That's, I believe, was his breaking the sound barrier. What's interesting about that date is that if you it's just ridiculous when you look at these things, because the way they write these things out. They write them out. You can read the press releases. They have to write them a certain way. So the Yeager Bell X1 is not X1, it's X with the minus sign and then 1. 10 minus 1. If you do Roman numeral, 10 minus 1 is what? 9, right? What's 65? What if you add 6 and 5 together? That's 11. So here you got some weird 9/11 showing up on the 14th. So, okay, so Felix Baumgardner. All right, who is he? He's an Austrian trained military skydiver. So he served in the Austrian military. If you know anything about the Illuminati, you know that they came from Bavaria with Jesuits. Austria, that's no big deal. That's a stone throw away. Same area, same German kind of background. And so you can look up Felix Baumgardner on Wikipedia. They have a real nice photo of him in there with he's got this nice set of wings attached to him. Very reminiscent of looking like an angel. And they have a nickname for him, which I'm not really sure what the heck it means. It's Base 502. I guess for a base jumper, but the way they wrote out base was it was base period A period S period E period, then like 502. So I'm sure that somebody can figure out what that means. I'm not able to. But he's standing there like a little angel. So there we have Felix Baumgartner falling from the outer edges of the heavens to the earth. Okay, where in the biblical realm, where do we see that? We see it with the fallen angels being cast out and then fallen to the earth, Lucifer being the prince of the air. We see it also in Revelations 12, where the final casting out of Lucifer, the devil, out of heaven will occur. So what is the symbolism of this? We got the red bowl, and I've talked before about the red bowl. That if you look at the red bowl, horns signify rulership. Red bowl, red, of course, Satan's color, bowl. So the red bowl is basically a satanic emblem for Zeus. Zeus, the altar of Pergamum that we talked about earlier with the bronze bowl where they used to roast people in it. That's the scene from the movie Immortals. You can rent out Immortals and see if somebody get cooked in a bronze bowl if you want to. That is the red bowl. The red bowl is associated with Zeus. Zeus is associated with Satan. So did Satan just fall to earth with Felix Baumgardner? I don't know. But, they love their rituals. So those are the space rituals going on right now. Right now I'm looking at that with the upcoming events with Israel and the United States doing joint military expeditions. We might have just seen that the Baumgardner jump was the countdown to the return of whatever you want to believe in. The return of the Nephilim, the hybrids, who knows? But the point is, you're right there on the tipping edge, just like all my videos were talking about. Basically, you're looking at the fall of Damascus as being the domino block that happens for everything to go really quick. You're looking at the Libyan attack that just happened was another Columbia or blood sacrifice planned out by people inside the State Department who ratcheted down the military protection so that they could have a sacrifice again, just like they sacrificed the people in the Columbia before they did the Iraq War. So here we got some more people getting a sacrifice on the anniversary of 9/11. So what war do they want to start here? So now let me know what you think, and if you put together any interesting things with the base 502 or any other interesting things with the Red Bowl or any other Illuminati or NASA-related space junk. I mean, it's all rituals. It's all occult-related rituals you're looking at. I mean, these are highly educated rocket scientists, right? They're supposed to be good little atheists, not believe in any of this stuff. All they do is play around with these little occult rituals. So you tell me what's going on. All right, well, you have a good weekend.